Hi everybody, we're back with part 2 of our hippo painting. So you should have your hippo all sketched out. If you don't, go back and watch the first 2 videos to learn how to sketch her. And you'll notice that I have added a few more details to my sketch. I've drawn in the nostrils and put a few dots on the mouth area, as well as drawn in the flowers a little bit more clearly. So if you want to go ahead and do that, go ahead. And meanwhile, I will talk about our supplies again. The first thing that I've done is created a work area where I'm not going to ruin anything. We've been doing a lot of crafts during this time, and so I have covered my kitchen table with a thick old towel to be sure not to get any paint on it. So you're going to want to put something down to protect the surface, because this paint, if you wipe it up right away, it's fine, but if you forget about it for just a little bit, it's really hard to get off. And the same thing with your clothes. If you get a dot of paint on your clothing, if you take it off and wash it immediately, you'll be fine. But if you don't see it and it stays on there for a while, it's almost impossible to get off. So you're probably going to want to change into something that you don't mind getting paint on. The next thing we do is set our pictures up. And if you have printed off a picture, I've already painted this one just so I could test it, but if you have printed off your picture, put that near you so you can use it as a color reference. If not, you'll be seeing what I'm doing. And then get your paints and everything set up. So you're going to want some paint brushes. Now these are my old tried and true ones, but I've also bought a new set. I bought this on, there we go, on eBay. So you can just go on eBay and look up paint brushes. This was pretty inexpensive. I believe it was $19.95. It came with all these brushes, the palette, and paint. A whole set of paints. And some canvases. So if you need supplies, eBay's great, Walmart.com is great. They delivered it in just like 2 days, and it was fairly inexpensive. And this is a good one because you've got a little skinny brush as well as some bigger brushes, and it's a nice variety. When you're painting today, I'm not going to give you brush numbers and stuff. Like if you watch the YouTube videos, they'll say use a number something brush. I'm just going to say use a really skinny tip or use a wide, because this is more of a simple painting, and it also means that you don't have to get special supplies. Okay, next we're going to set up our paint. Now I use paints that I get from Walmart. Again, you can buy these online. Okay, they're called Apple Barrel, and they're very inexpensive. They're about 50 cents a piece, so that's all you need. And the kit that I bought did come with these. And I haven't even cracked that open yet, so I'm going to be using the Apple Barrel paints today. Now these have specific names like Kelly Green and Pink Parfait, but any green, any pink that you have is going to work, because it's your own personal painting and it doesn't have to be exactly like what this picture is. Then I have this little plastic palette with these little cups in there that I'm going to set my paints up in. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can just use a paper plate or even a regular dinner plate, because the paint will wash off of those surfaces. In fact, I reuse this all the time. I just wash it up. So, I have started with some, if you look at your picture, move this down even a little bit more. There we go. You'll see we have yellow. So I've got my yellow paint. And you're just going to put a few drops of that in there, just like that. You don't need a lot of paint. You don't want to use a lot of paint because you want to save it for other projects you might have. And then I'm doing a blush pink for our background and her cheek area. This little flower here. Just a little bit of that. I'm doing a peachy color for the other flower. And if you want to know the names of this one is just called Peach. The pink was called Pink Blush, the yellow was called Pale Daffodil, and the green was called Kelly Green. I'm also doing a bright pink called Honeysuckle Pink. Like I said, you do not have to use these particular colors. Any pink and green and yellow is going to do. Blue. This one's called Blue Kazoo. Just need a little dot of that. There we go. A little bit of brown for up here in the eyes. The black, we're just going to use the tiniest bit of black here, so I'm going to show you a little trick when we get to that of how I do that. You don't have to squeeze that out onto your palette. White. And then gray. Now you can always mix the black and white together to make gray, of course. I forgot to get mine out, sorry. But I do have dark gray here as well. Okay. So my paints are set up. The next thing you're going to want is a cup of water to wash your brushes off in between. Some Q-tips. Now these are great because if you drop a little bit of paint on it, you just dip it in the water and then wipe it off and the paint will come right off. If you make a big mistake where you need to get a lot off, it's better to kind of wipe it off, and then if it's smeared or anything, just let that dry and you can paint right over it. And also some paper towels. These are to clean our brushes with in between colors. If we use the same size brush on a certain color, you're just going to want to dip it in your water and then dry it off on your paper towel. And that's it. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is to start with a fairly good size brush and paint the whole surface white. Now the reason that I'm doing this is because it makes it much easier to blend colors if you've already painted the white on there. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So just load up your brush with white and then let me make sure we can get the whole picture in there for you. Okay, good. And just go ahead and go over the face. Now the nice thing about this too with acrylic paint is that one of the ways that you create depth in your painting is by layers of paint. So your first coat is going to be very sheer. You're going to be able to see your markings through it, which is great. I'm painting upside down, so I'm relying on my drawing more than I usually would. So just get your white in there, and then you can bring it down into here. And just the whole area of where our hippo is. Make sure you get her ears in there too. And you don't really have to stay in the lines here, so don't worry about that too much, because you want to get that coat on fairly quickly so that we can start blending our other colors in with it. Okay, once that is done, we're going to switch to a little bit smaller brush. This one has a nice soft tip, and this makes it much easier to blend your colors. And I'm going to dip that in my gray paint. And just start outlining. We're going to outline the snout area, like so. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is all going to get blended in. So, and the little nostrils here. All right. So just go over all your markings there for the snout area, the chin, anywhere where you see gray over on this painting. I'm going to go up here around the ears. There you go. And her other ear. And I hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, you can always stop the video to catch up with me. Then around the eyes. So this is just going to kind of define where we're going to be painting our gray. Okay. Now take your big paintbrush that you used before, this size paintbrush, and put some gray on. Not a lot. You're just going to dip it in there very lightly. Come down here to the chest area of your hippo, and you can just draw a little line down following that guideline, and then you're going to just drag it and blend. So blend like this, coming right up to the line, and you can see how that starts to blend into the white. There you go. Down underneath this area. And then again on the other side. Now see, this is supposed to be more white, but that's okay because we can always just dip into our white again. Again, just a slight dip. Just on the edge of your brush, like so. You don't want to just totally cover it because that will make a really harsh line. So very lightly and blend. Bringing your brush out to the line and then pulling it in towards the center. And this is how you're going to get that shading. Okay. Now dip it into the white. And this area underneath the neck should have a little bit more white in it. So I'm just going to add white over that. First time I've ever painted upside down. And that's my Jolie.
Who's walking around?
I am on camera, honey, just so you know. And there you go. And this can be, so you can just keep adding color until you get it to have the appearance that you want, the color that you want. Just like that. Now you'll also see that there's shades of pink in here. So while it's still wet with the white and gray, we want to add our pink. We're going to dip it in the light pink color, just very tiny, tiny bit. So it looks like that. And then just take it and wipe it like that. So you've just got the littlest bit of pink on there. Can you see me doing that? Wipe it off like that. Okay, good. And just go in there like this and put some pink in there. That's it. Real easy. Okay. Now we're going to go up and do her forehead. So I just like to dip my paintbrush in the water, clean it with our paper towel. And go back into my white again just to because this is probably dried somewhat, but and go right in there. All right, and dip it in the gray. Just that little bit like that. And do the same thing here. Coming over her forehead. And this creates the shading. Let's see, I'm gonna use a smaller brush for this. Go in, we're gonna darken this part and just go in and there we go. Start smoothing it out so that you get that nice variated color. It's not so harsh. You don't want a harsh line. That you want nice soft gray color, and you want a little darker at the top than it is at the bottom. The way that you do that is just to keep bringing it down, and as your brush has less and less gray on it, it's going to produce that blending look. Okay, just like that. And of course, if you want to add more gray to it, if that's too light for you, just go right ahead and do that. Start up at the top and then bring it down so that it blends. And if you, like I said, if you go out of the lines into the eye area, just don't worry about it. We're going to paint over there. Okay, so now I've got the forehead done. And let's go down and continue working on the snout area. I'm going to put the white in there. Some more white. And come up over those guidelines a little bit because we want those to blend. Again, not be such a harsh line. Add some gray to it and just start blending. A little darker towards the edges and pull it out towards the middle, like so. See? Same thing on the other side. A little darker near the edges. And then pull it in towards the middle of the nose. See that? Here. There you go. Now for me, painting is also a meditation, so I'm not used to hearing myself talk while I'm doing it, so please forgive me if you hear some dead space. I'm going to try to remember to talk to you all. And just keep adding color until it looks the way you want it to look. You get the right color gray and the right look that you're going for. There. Now let's move on down here. Again, loading up my brush with the white. Now the gray. And I'm not washing my brush in between this because I want the colors to blend. A little bit more gray on the outside, and then just pull it in just like that. And you can see how that makes it a little bit darker on the edges, so it creates the illusion of depth. There. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Load up our brush with the white, and this time when I say load up, I'm putting quite a bit of color on there. Come down, fill in the space with the white. Now just dip in the gray and pull it in towards the center. There, just like that. Maybe dip it in the gray just a touch more, and so that we can get that definition there. There. Pull it out from the center. Okay. Now another gray area is this right in here. So dip it in the white. And then in the gray. And paint that in. All right. And then we're going to do the rest of her face, like under the eyes in here. But if you notice, right here is pink. It's like a cheek area, so we'll be blending that in too. But before we get to that, let's paint the side of her face right here between the ear and the eye. Blend that down. Just a tip of the gray. Dip the tip in the gray and come on down. Okay. There. And I'm going to do it just a little bit on the side here so we can see the side of her face from the, okay? Load up with the white. Come on over here in between the eye and the ear. Can you see that? Yeah, between the eye and the ear. A little bit underneath the eye, just dip it in the gray, very light, just a little tiny bit, and come on down, and just drag your brush down so that you can kind of define the space between her face and the white of the canvas board. So there we go. All right, dip it in the white again. And we're going to do her cheek area. Paint that cheek and jowls, I guess you would call this. It's just a circle, and then bring it on down. Dip it in the light pink, just very light, just a little tiny bit on your brush. And there you go, because we want this to be just a faint pink color. Okay, and bring that on underneath here too. There. So we just get that little bit of pink going on there. And then if you want, you can even drag some more white down into here to blend it more. Okay. Now, if you notice, the inside of the ears are a light pink color too. So I'm going to do that now with the white. Load it up with the white. Just slightly dip it in the pink. I just really want that hint of pink in there. And then around the eyes as well. So we're going to just paint that in that light pink color. Okay. Now, if you're starting to lose track of your pencil lines, you can let it dry for a minute and then just go back in and trace over those lines so you can see them good again before you add any more paint. Okay, and then here's where our nostrils were. And I'm noticing that this is very much like a black eye looking. So I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the white and just kind of blend that in some more. So it's not such a hard difference there. See that? There. Blend her in. Just anytime you want to blend, just add a little white to your brush. Go over anything that appears to be like a hard line and blend it in. And then if it's too white looking, then you can always add a little bit more pigment. And that also is the beauty of acrylic paint, is the layering. The more you do this, the more depth it creates in your painting. There have been times when I have hated a painting I've been doing of somebody's face, and as I add more layers of paint to it, I see the face start to come alive. And that makes me happy. So don't be afraid of adding more paint. There. Okay. I'm going to go in here and just define this just a little bit more here. There. Okay, a little more white to blend it. There we go. All right, we're getting there, folks. Now, I also noticed that her nostrils have just a little bit of pink around them. So I'm going to come up here and just do that very lightly. And add a little bit of white on there. So they're not such a dark color. There. Lighten it up. And this is using the lightest pink color. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's do the flowers next. We'll come in and do the detail afterwards. I'm using my bright color, pink. Load your brush. Come into this big round pink flower here and just draw a circle. And then bring your brush in towards the center, just like that. And it creates that look of a rose. Next, dip your brush in the lighter pink. I'm mixing it with the little white so that it's even lighter. And the same thing here. Make your circle and then draw it into the center. And then finally dip it into the peach color. This is yellow, I'm sorry. Dip it into the yellow. And the same thing. Just like that. Okay. And we're going to let that dry up for a minute. While we're letting that dry, let's do our leaves. I forgot to put green on my palette here. There we go. Now for the leaves and things of that nature, I like to use a real thin brush. I've got this one that's pretty thin. And then here's my other really tiny one. There it is. So whichever you're more comfortable with. I'm going to use this one right now. I'm going to dip that in my green and just paint a few of these leaves here. There's a leaf here. And you can dip that in the water. I'm using dry brushes for everything. You dip it in the water and it spreads a little easier. Here, do our and here. Now by dipping it in the paint, just the tiniest little bit of paint on the tip of your brush, and then outlining the leaf, and then just bringing it into the center, that can create shading too, because it's lighter in the center than it is on the outside. So you do shading without having to do a lot of work. Then if you notice, we've got these 3 flowers here, or leaves here. I'm going to take that and mix it with just a touch of yellow, so I get kind of this greenish yellow color, and do those leaves. So we've got one here right by the eye, and another one here. And these are just very simple teardrop type shapes. And then another one here. Okay. Now, if you want to do a little bit of shading on those, just dip your brush in a little bit of brown or yellow, and you can add a vein in the leaf, like that. Right here, I'm going to do a stem coming out to the leaf, like that. Just real simple. Okay, now go back to this brush and put a little bit of the lighter pink or some white onto it, really light pink. Go up to your rose here and just circle it around like this, just like that. Okay, there you go. Now, take your brush and wipe it off with a paper towel and get it as dry as you possibly can. And then put it in the center of the flower and just drag it. Kind of mush it down. So in that way, it blends just like that. There you go. So, there's your rose. So you're just going to put it in the middle and push it down and spiral it out towards the edge of your flower, and then spiral it back in again. Okay. Now, wipe that brush off, dip it in your brown, and we're going to put the center of our flower here. If you like them like that, you can leave them. If you want, you can just put a few little dots here in the center. And I'm going to put a few in the center of our yellow flower, more up at the top here, and then in our light pink flower too. There we go. Now I'm going to switch to my really little tiny brush. Okay, and we're going to do these little blue flowers here. So dip in your blue paint and get it pretty filled up there. And then just come and make 3 little dots. 1, 2, 3. Dip it in again. There we go. And you can do as many dots as you want. I'm going to do a couple over here. And then we've got some coming out over here. 1, 2, 3. Just something like that, till you're happy with it. Okay, wipe your brush off with the paper towel, dip it into the green or the brown, whichever you prefer, and make a little stem. Just kind of connect everything. And over here we can just do something like that. Okay. And do a little shading if you want. There. And there you go with that. Now, here comes the fun part, the eyes. At least for me, that's the fun part. Let's study the eyes for just a minute. You're going to notice there's a black oval, but then this part is brown. And I have added some eyelashes. You don't have to do that. I like to do it, but that's completely up to you. So first, let's do the black. And this is where that trick comes in that I was going to show you. It's not really a trick, but whatever. You take your black, and I only have a little bit left in here, so if you have a full black, don't do this, but I tap it upside down to get it down into the cap. If you've got a full bottle, your cap's already going to have plenty in there. Take your cap off, and then just dip the tip of your brush in there. Okay? And draw your eyes out. So we've got these ovals here. And don't worry about leaving space for the white center. We're just going to paint that on top once the black dries. Using your thinnest brush. Because this you do want to have nice and neat and stay in the lines. And fill that in. There you go. Okay. There. One eye. Let's do our next eye. Dip it in your paint. Come on over here. Draw your oval. Fill in the oval. Yeah, I'm running out of black. You could do brown eyes too. Or even deep blue. But there we go. I think I'm going to have enough to get this done. I ordered paint and it didn't come with any black, so. I wish you could see our house right now. Every corner is filled with a painting, and Jolie's room is completely not painting. She has painted on the wall. Her room is completely muralized. Okay, we're going to do our nostrils. Again, these are just like a tear shape. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'll post some pictures. And then we're going to put these little dots here where the muzzle is on her face. I'm guessing this is probably where whiskers grow out of, but I'm not going to draw any whiskers on her. So there you go. And then after I've got the black done, I'm going to dip it in the white to make like a dark gray and just kind of go around like that, the pink area, to accentuate the nostrils again. Just like this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There. Maybe I'll do another dot, a couple dots out here. Small ones. Okay. Now, let's move on. Let's wash our brush. And dip it in the brown. Right there. And just coming above the eye. Ladies, if you wear makeup, you know how to do this. This is like eyeliner. I'm just going to paint above the eye like this. Come down, and if you want to do an eyelash, that's where you're going to do it. You're just going to pull it out. So, come above the eye a little bit, and then just pull it out like that. There you go. And the same thing on the other side. This one came down a little lower. So I'm just going to come down the side of it, up, and pull her out for the eyelash. Now, as I said, you don't have to do the eyelashes. This is just my thing. If you weren't doing eyelashes, you would just come up and around and end it right there. Okay, there. Now that's a little darker than our picture, so I'm going to just add some white to it. Lighten it up a bit. So make it a lighter brown. Blend it. Okay. I still like the eyelashes being dark though, so I'm going to go back over and just paint these a little darker. Okay. Now, dip it in your white paint. Dip your point of your brush in white paint. I'm going to have to give myself a little bit more white here. Okay. And we're going to do these reflection of the pupils. And just about here, just a little bit off to the center, just drop a drop of white paint. Just like that. Same thing with the other eye. And there you have it. Now the next thing that you're going to want to do is just perfect any details that you might see. Like if you want the flowers shaded a little bit more, you can do that now. Just anything else that you want to add, you can touch up this area here. Like I said, I'm painting upside down, so it's a little hard for me to see it as well as I normally could, but anything that you want to fix up, go ahead and do it now. There we go. But that's pretty much it. And I'm going to teach you how to paint the background, but you want to wait until your picture is fully dry before you do that, because the paint will smear if you don't wait. So let it wait like a good hour or so, and just touch it with your Q-tip very gently. And if any color comes off on it, you know that it's not dry yet. But the way that you do that is you take a dry brush, a nice good size brush like this, and make sure it's totally dry. Take your paint, dip it in the paint like that, and then take a paper towel and wipe off as much of the paint as you can. Just really wipe it until you get it. Like, don't dip it in the water. Just get it so that it almost seems as if there's no paint on it. Then I like to go on the back here of the canvas and just brush it like that until I get it so that it's just leaving barely any color at all. Can you see that? It's just such a light color. Then you take this and you just go around her. Just with brush strokes and just get a light painting around her. I'm going to do it very carefully on here, just right up at the top so you can see what I'm talking about. It's just going to do the faintest bit of color. And if your painting has dried thoroughly, you won't have to worry about smearing. But I'm being very careful here. Okay. And that's it. You'll just get this nice little light color. If you want to come in here and add any more pink anywhere, you can do that. And that's about it for today. Let me see how she looks the right side up. Yeah, not too bad for painting upside down. All right. That's the tutorial for today. I hope that you had fun doing this. And if you did, let me know. If there's anything else you want me to do, let me know. I had a lot of fun doing this. It was my first time, so please bear with any goofs in there, but thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this, and have a great day. Bye-bye.